It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott's here, Mary Jo Foley's here, and so are the feature experience packs, the online services experience packs, the web experience packs, and more. What are web experience packs? We'll find out. We'll also welcome Defender back. And HoloLens. Is it dead or just resting? It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 763, recorded Wednesday, February 9th, 2022, like a leg on a whale. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Intel, orchestrated by the experts at CDW to deliver increased performance with the built-for-business 11th generation Intel Core vPro processor. Learn more at cdw.com/Intel Client. And by New Relic. That next 3 a.m. call is just waiting to happen. Get New Relic before it does, and you can get access to the whole New Relic platform and 100 gigabytes of data free forever. No credit card required. Sign up at newrelic.com/Windows. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft. Yes, we're going to do that with Paul Thurrott from Thurrott.com. There he is right there. And on the left, it's Mary Jo Foley from allaboutmicrosoft.com. She's doing jazz hands. And together they are the dynamic duo of Microsoft Reportage. Hello, kids. Yes, thank you to Micah for filling in for me last week. I appreciate that. We're turning him into a Windows guy, inch by inch.
I like it.
It's fun.
We are.
It's a little creepy, but it's fun.
I like tempting people to the dark side.
Come on, it's nice. It's nice over here. Ooh. So thank you, Micah. Yeah, I was in a town so nice, they named it twice, Carmel by the Sea.
Yeah.
Carmel -by -the-sea.
Yep.
And it was quite pleasant. In fact, it's funny because just coincidentally on my Instagram feed a couple of days ago, I saw Steve McQueen lounging at the beach at Carmel by the Sea.
See, I associate that place with Clint.
Yeah, Clint also. I don't know if he still owns the Hog's Breath Inn there. We went by. It was kind of unassuming. I expected something more medieval. I don't know why. But it's beautiful. Beautiful town. Beautiful place. Yeah. I investigated internet access to see if we could move there, and indeed
it was viable.
They have fiber, so. And I saw the home prices, and I said, well, I guess.
I was going to say, I don't know. Carmel is out there.
Yeah. Carmel, Indiana, I could afford. Yeah, well, that's
Yep.
Part of the problem was the AT&T, formerly known as the Bing Crosby Clam Bake, was going on while we were there out at Pebble Beach. So traffic.
Oh yeah, Pebble Beach.
Pebble Beach, yeah. I used to live in Monterey, Pacific Grove, nearby.
There's a great aquarium right there, right at Monterey.
The best aquarium. If you've not been to the Monterey Bay Aquarium, highly recommended.
Yeah.
Really
I haven't
amazing.
been to that area in a long time, but it's beautiful over there.
I know, same.
Yeah.
Yep.
They've done a beautiful job. So we're looking at houses in Carmel, Indiana instead.
Sure. Just get a big pool. It will be similar.
Yeah, exactly. Who needs the ocean? So, hey, ho, ho. Windows 11. What's going on? What's the latest? Feature.
What do you mean? Why? Have you heard something?
We got some packs. We got some packs, baby. What?
Yeah.
So I think anybody who's been using Windows for a while will think of these as the Microsoft, what they used to call them, the fun toys. The
power toys.
Power toys.
No. Actually, you know what, though? Before we jump into this, Mary Jo, here's some terminology from the past, right?
Yes.
Everyone is familiar with service packs. Most people have at least heard of feature packs and option packs, right? But Microsoft used to use terminology. They used to have things called hot fixes, right? We remember that, obviously.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But they used to also have something called GDRs. Does that term sound familiar? And
something release, right?
Yeah, generally deployable release, I think, or general deployable, or deplorable release.
Deplorable release.
Deplorable, yeah.
But I guess service packs evolved to become GDRs. Yeah. Hotfixes were always GDRs. And the point of GDRs was that they didn't change any of the functionality. They just fixed bugs, right? Because some early service packs added new features and customers complained and they walked away from that. So I've been confronting the past lately. So I've been inundated by all these terms from the past over the past few weeks. So GDRs, hotfixes, service packs.
Yeah.
Now we have all this junk.
Do you remember there was a hot debate back in the day about should feature packs have new features or not have new features? Right. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Also, the notion of roll-ups, which we still kind of talk about.
Yep.
And anyway, it's interesting how the language has changed. And the debate continues. But I got to tell you, they're escalating.
They are escalating. Oh man. So, Leo, I don't know if you were here when we found this out, but we heard from Panos a couple weeks ago that we're going to get new features for Windows 11 in the mainstream channel in February.
Yes, we discussed that the week I left. Yes, that's why I left.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you left because you're like, enough. I don't want the new features.
I've had it with these people.
Well, there was somewhat of a debate about were you going to get them? Are you going to get something like them?
How were you going to get them?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So then Paul and I think some other people too, had just said, okay, it's going to be a cumulative update. That's how they're going to roll this out. Right. And then they put out a blog post last week that really, I think they thought they were clarifying things, but it made me just grab my head and start screaming when I saw this blog post, because they said, okay, there's 3 ways you're going to get these. I
mean, A+ for consistency on their part, right? I mean,
yeah.
You often caution me not to expect anything to change.
Yeah.
And this is because this is why.
All right. So there's 3 ways. So we already know you could get a feature update this year in the fall. That we know is supposedly on the roadmap. There's 3 other ways though that you could get updates to Windows 11 in the mainstream channel. At least 3, right. So we already knew about feature experience packs. This was something that people started finding out about in 2020 and Microsoft wouldn't talk about. Like when they were getting Windows 10 on their system, they noticed they were getting something called a feature experience pack. And when we went to Microsoft and said, what is this you're putting on people's machines? They said, no comment. So later we found out that feature experience pack is the way they were going to deliver some features independent of the OS itself. So the first feature pack had things like the updated snipping tool, a text input panel, shell suggestion user interface, just like a random collection of stuff.
Sorry to interject, but a little point to this is if you go into the settings app and go to System About, it actually calls out the Windows Feature Experience Pack level that you're at separately from the OS version. And the reason for that is you might be in Windows 10 version 21H1, 2004, or whatever the version numbers are. You could even be on Windows 11 something, and those feature experience pack numbers might be the same. You'll be on the same level regardless of the OS version. That speaks to the importance of, or to the point of it, which is updating the OS outside of the versioning. Right. They want to keep everyone up to date.
Right. So you think, okay, feature experience packs, that's how they're going to deliver updates outside of the OS. Oh, no, there's more. Last fall, October, they put a blog post out that talked about online service experience packs. Another one of these ones, we went back to them and said, so what's that? And how is that different from feature experience pack? No comment. Right. So they didn't want to talk about it then. All they'll still say about this is another way we're going to deliver features independent of the operating system. They also did say feature experience packs can deliver broad improvements over multiple areas of Windows. Online service experience packs delivering improvements for a specific experience. And an example, the new Microsoft account settings page that we talked about last week. Right. Okay, so there's 2. We knew about those 2. Then last week in the blog post, they add a third, which we had not heard about to date. Right. Web experience packs, not the same as online service experience packs, not the same as feature experience packs. Those other 2 go through Windows Update. The web experience pack makes you take your update through the Microsoft Store. So they said this is another way we're going to update features, but this one's going to make you go through the store. And an example of something that will be delivered this way is the widgets experience.
Right.
Okay.
Which I speculated was the case, but you got them to confirm this.
I did. Right.
How do you get them to talk? How does that work?
Here's what I did. I saw the wording and I said, so you guys have never talked about this before. You don't even have a link in your blog post about what this is. So what is it? And I wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And then they come back sometimes with some words. And that was the case this time.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So now Patch Tuesday came and went this week. Some people thought maybe we would get the new features on Patch Tuesday or in conjunction with the patches. That did not happen. So I went back to them yesterday and I said, So no new features yet. Are we going to see those still this month? Yes, you will. More details to come. That's it.
Well, they still have the C week, so to speak.
We do.
Next week.
Yep. That's right.
And technically, I guess they could
SEA.
Well,
what is C week?
The letter C. So
C.
The B week. B week is when they.
Street? What?
It's the first Tuesday of the month. I don't really think they have an A week, but if they did, it would be the first.
No, they
Tuesday.
do
Because of the Patch
They
Tuesday.
do have an A week.
Patch Tuesday's B week.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then
A
C
week
week
was Office. Yeah, Office was A. Patch Tuesday was B. C was preview of features coming in the next Patch Tuesday. Right?
So C week is the Patch Tuesday, the Conjuring.
That just happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the Will C week.
Okay. Now I got it.
Yeah. One of my followers on Twitter yesterday said we need to also have after Patch Tuesday, Weeping Wednesday, because there's always patches that break. And
Exactly.
Yeah. So we went back and forth about Windows Weekly with Weeping Wednesday.
We'll cry over a beer together, everybody.
We will. Exactly. Yeah. So that's all we know right now. We know the vehicles. There may be more kinds of packs that we don't know about. Like these are the three that we now know about. They seem to just keep multiplying like rabbits. Feature pack, service pack, this, that. When these come out in February, it'll be interesting to see how and where the different features that they talked about show up, like which ones show up where, right?
Yeah.
We know widgets will be a web service pack. Notepad, the new Notepad and the new Windows Media Player also through the store. So I guess web service pack.
Well, I think those are just app updates.
They're just apps. Okay.
Yeah,
those are just separate.
Apps.
Then the other features that they talked about, like, what was the other one they talked about? Making it easier to juggle different windows or something. I couldn't figure out what that was, but when they described it, I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way,
Windows 11, Android apps.
I mean, it doesn't matter like how they're delivered in a way. I guess
it doesn't in a way. Right.
It might only matter to the people that are seeking these things. If you hear that some update is out and, if only you had one place to look for everything, how convenient would that be? But
no, you know who it matters to is admins, right? Like they're like, okay, these are going to come in all different places on the machines that we're looking at.
Right,
and so now we got to figure out where they are. And
this is pretty much how malware is delivered, right? Different attack vectors.
Yeah, I don't know. Like sometimes I am mad they don't give us enough granular level detail in blog posts. And sometimes I'm like, do you really need to tell everybody how you're making the sausage? I don't know. Do you?
Right.
Well,
I guess it makes it sound like they're doing something when anyone who's using Windows 11 can tell you they haven't done anything. So, I guess it's on the way or whatever. Yeah. But even those February updates they promised, with the exception of a preview version of the Android App Store, are not monumental in any way. And even that App Store experience is not great, Right. I've been using the release preview channel. It hasn't changed since whenever that came out in preview first, like November or whatever. It's just, there's only a handful of interesting apps. It's mostly garbage games.
Yeah.
Those apps, by the way, speaking of updating, update through that Amazon app, not through the store. So you have to deal with another set of notifications, another set of updating routines, whatever. And okay, fine, whatever. But it's not that store in a store thing I think we were promised back in June last year.
So I'm thinking I'm an example of a person who's not even going to want the Android apps on my machine, right? They're all games pretty much, right? Or no?
Yeah, unless, well, the Amazon Kindle app is maybe the one interesting thing to me. I think there's a United app, you know, if you are going to pop out your laptop and do United stuff for some reason. A couple of things. Washington Post might be one of them. There's only literally several apps. I mean, most of them are games.
Like 40 something apps. That's it. Like it's not all Android apps. It's just a few, right?
Yeah, just a handful. I mean, I think most of them are, well, I know most of them are just games. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find it. I don't know. Why wouldn't it come up? Maybe I'm on the wrong I'm on the wrong computer. That's why. Never mind. I can't look here.
Yeah. I want to see how this goes because this will be the first time since Windows 11 shipped that they actually talked about rolling out features to people who are on the mainstream channel and not in the dev rings, right? So
that's right.
Let's see how it goes. Let's see how people find this experience.
Yeah, they'll find it confusing. Or they won't find it at all.
Maybe.
The blog post we keep referencing, by the way, also talks about changes they're making to the Windows Insider program, which you really have to look for to understand. You know, I didn't see too much there. The couple of things that stand out to me are the dev and beta channel are still not associated with a particular version of Windows, which I think is a mistake. The dev channel might get more experimental, whatever that means. I mean, we're already kind of testing features that may or may not show up. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
There is going to be a brief window, again, like we had last summer, where you can move between the dev and beta channels.
Yeah.
And the beta channel, like it is today, I mean, this isn't really changing, but they're just kind of reemphasizing this, is closer to what will probably appear for stable users in the future, meaning that if a feature makes its way from dev to beta, it's probably going to be in Windows 11 at some point, but they're not promising.
No, they're not promising that.
Yeah, and you know, Mary Jo asked me an interesting question. I'll just kind of throw it to the audience because I think this is I really had to think about this. If you wanted right now to test a future version of Windows 10, is there a place in the Windows Insider program for that? Right? And I was like, wow, that's an interesting question. The only thing I could think of is that I assume this hasn't changed or hasn't changed yet, but as of the last change with the Insider program, if you had a computer that didn't qualify for Windows 11 and you put it into the release preview channel, you would get Windows 10.
Right.
Now, of course, that was before 21H2 shipped, which it has. They haven't shifted anything. So I would imagine here we are in February, if you have a non-eligible PC, non-eligible for Windows 11, I think that's how you could get it.
Yeah.
But man, would that be disappointing? Right?
And
I mean,
what are you getting at this point, right? Like what kind of features are you getting?
Right. Whatever was in 21H2, not much. And if you qualify, I mean, you probably would have gotten that anyway, I guess, right?
Right. I would think.
So I don't know what's going on there. That's a good question.
Is there anybody, if anyone's listening who is either in Discord or the chat, are any of you on Windows 10 and in the Insider program still? And if you are, have you gotten anything? Like, what have you gotten? Because I don't even know why I'm about this, but
no, it's a good question. Because this is one of those instances of clarity that Microsoft never provides. Right. I think if you're in the Windows 10, if you're on Windows 10 and you're in the Insider program, you're in the release preview, you're getting what you would expect to get, which is future versions of apps at this point, right? You're just getting app updates.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that's where we are. Okay.
So what about these
Kev Brewer's there. Hold on. Windows 10 release preview, nothing new so far.
Oh, he's actually doing it as we speak in real time.
I have Windows 10 in the release preview.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's good to clarify that. Get that all cleared up. Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. I'm not sure we clarified anything, but yes.
I dreamt about that. That's the weirdest thing.
Oh,
like I woke
that's
up.
Sad.
It was a dream. I know. And I'm like, why did I even think about that?
You need to get
like,
a cat or something.
Cares?
That's terrible. Yeah, it's really bad.
I feel, it's weird. During the pandemic, I just feel like I dream about way stranger things than I used to.
My dreams are much
about.
more vivid than they used to be. Like I spend a lot of time dreaming now all of a sudden.
I literally woke up and had to describe a dream to my wife before we did anything else because I was like, I'm going to forget this. And it's nuts.
Yeah.
And just today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody should do a study. There's something there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it could be Windows 11, but I'm thinking it's the pandemic. I'm just thinking.
Well, it depends on what you're obsessed about.
True that.
Certainly there are some Microsoft fever dreams in there.
Yeah. Excuse me, but Windows 11 preview weather app lost timestamps in the changing weather throughout the day. I hope you will let them know.
Okay.
That's from Heat Sinks Weekly. He clearly cares a lot about ISO bars.
Wow. I will now run the weather app for the first time ever on this computer and see what it says.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Samsung event this morning?
No.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Just trying to make some conversation.
No,
Did you have a dream about it?
So I have not yet because it was today. I have a link. I don't have a link. I have a mention of it later in the thing.
Okay,
because,
we'll save it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not huge, but there was some Microsoft integration stuff I thought was kind of
actually, what I thought was really interesting. In fact, Lisa and I were watching. Jason streamed it, and that's exactly what I said to Lisa. Is Apple's an ecosystem. Samsung doesn't really have an ecosystem to call its own, so it makes sense.
Well, they sort of do, right? I mean, they have this Galaxy thing.
They have a tablet.
Yeah, and they have services and apps and stuff. Yeah. But they're slow. It's weird where they decide to stick and where they don't. They're switching to OneDrive for storage and inter-device interoperability. They used to have their own thing for that.
Right.
And I thought that was an interesting move on their part because they're basically doing what Microsoft would have done 20 years ago, which is just offloaded on someone else who's already, hosting
I
that
call it
anyway.
giving up, but okay, that's good.
Or
giving up. Let's talk about our fine sponsors, shall we? And then we shall return. This episode of Windows Weekly is brought to you by Intel, orchestrated by the experts at CDW. They understand to keep up with changing business needs, organizations of all sizes need to stay secure, connected, and protected. And that takes powerful processors that are built for today and tomorrow, like Intel's built for business 11th Gen Intel Core vPro processors. The 11th Gen Intel Core vPro processors provide you with the performance, security, and remote manageability needed to continually move forward and stay productive even while on the go. CDW works with Intel to provide the right technology to fuel productivity and innovation. CDW can access your distributed workforce and their needs and implement the Intel vPro platform to configure devices powered by 11th Gen Intel Core vPro processors, accelerating digital business transformation. When we're talking performance, man, you're talking a new processor core architecture that delivers increased overall application performance. That means less time waiting, more productivity from anywhere. And it's compatible with Wi-Fi 6 to prevent delays. It's got built-in AI that accelerates apps and optimizes speed. And of course, when it comes to security, Intel Hardware Shield builds in protection, detecting and preventing malware and network threats without sacrificing performance. And as for remote manageability, cloud-based or hardware-based management for IT leaders means consistent features across notebooks, desktops, and workstations within a business. For increased performance and security, trust Intel and IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Learn more at cdw.com/Intel Client. That's cdw.com/Intel Client. Thank you, CDW, for supporting Windows Weekly. We appreciate it.
All right. Yes, I'm still on Wi-Fi 5. Fine.
I'm teasing you. In fact, it's funny because they made a big deal about 6E. And I think that we're just going to go right to 7 and forget it anyway. Yep.
There are no major 6E routers, really, right? I mean,
there's some, but you need 6E routers and you need 6E hardware. And I mean, everything has to be 6E. And I think we're just going to skip right to 7. now.
Yep.
I was waiting for whatever came after 6. Well, I have a big house. Like I have to, I need like multiple nodes everywhere.
You're going to end. Well, you're moving though, right? You're not going to stay in that house.
That's for sure.
Next house, do what we did. Get somebody crawling around in the attic and the basement and putting an Ethernet everywhere.
Right.
And then we did the Ubiquity thing, which is not cheap, but then everything's managed.
What is Ubiquity?
So Ubiquity is kind of a prosumer. A lot of businesses use it. They have the Dream, what is it? Dreamweaver, the Dream Station, which is the Dreamweaver, which is the big router. It'll do all sorts of fancy stuff, bonding multiple connections and stuff. It's got a lot of security built in. And then we got a big switch, 24-port switch. Actually, we got a 48-port switch because I don't know why. And then, I don't know why. And then we got Ubiquity's prosumer, kind of almost enterprise grade base station units. And we put 5 in. And all of that was, a lot of money, but because I just didn't want to hear from Lisa when the Wi-Fi went down.
Yeah.
And actually it was also because of COVID, because Michael was going to school through Zoom. Lisa was working from home.
Oh, I was freaked when that started with the kids coming home.
Yeah. I was prepared to be working from home. Yep. And so we really wanted hardwired everywhere. Next house. Wouldn't be worth doing it now unless, the Dream Machine, that's it. Ubiquity Unify Dream Machine. Little ad there for them, not unpaid. In fact, I paid them for that ad.
Yeah.
All right. Now, what was it you were gonna? Did I interrupted something? What's next? Windows Defender. I love that game. I was more of a Galaxian fan, but I think Defender was really a lot of fun.
No, wait, we have to do the new features.
New features first.
Well, these are just
because you care about these.
Leaked on Twitter.
You care a lot about these.
Leaked on Twitter, and then we'll talk about playing Defender on Windows.
This is the new way we leak things is on Twitter.
Yeah.
Microsoft leaked it?
No.
Oh.
None of this is particularly exciting. In
fact, new
some
sticker editor is pretty damn exciting, dude.
Like I said. Well,
you thought rounded corners were exciting. Wait till you get the stickers, right?
I like emoji, but they're not everywhere in my life yet. Is there some way I could get them on my desktop? I'm not even really sure what stickers are.
There's a video for that. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, the Windows 11 video guide. Easy instruction.
In 1995, it looked exactly like that.
That's from B. Jones 9942 on our Discord. Thank you, B. Jones.
Yeah. So as I said to Raphael the other day when we were discussing this stickers thing, it's like if only the stickers could somehow display live data. Maybe there could be like a weather sticker and a chat sticker and a stock sticker.
So these are widgets then?
I don't know what they are. I literally think they're just what they sound like. I think they're just, you can have a background and they're going to let you put little stickers around, which are little images.
Like sticky notes?
I think so.
Oh, please.
We don't know because they haven't announced it yet. But anyway, there's an interface in some leaked bill, or I don't know where it is. Yeah, there's some.
It's got to be more like widgets. There's sticky notes. No, that can't be.
It doesn't look like widgets. It looks like stickers.
Well, I mean, if you take a widget and you simplify it, kind of like Windows 11 did to the UI, what do you end up with? You end up with a static image. And
Lord.
Yeah, we'll see.
Is this because we have a Mrs. Grossman sticker factory over here, and it's very popular with the 5-year-olds.
Sure.
In fact, you always know
like a Build-A-Bear
when there's it's like right next door to it is literally next to Jelly Belly and Build-A-Bear. How did you know? So you always know that there's a 5-year-old in the family because you see these minivans go by and the back window's just loaded with stickers. They'll love this feature.
Yeah, it's for kids and for other people who like emojis. So we'll see. There's a new sustainability section coming to the settings app. It's going to give you not a 5-star system, but a 5-leaf system to tell you how sustainable your PC is at the moment. It sounds to me like they're just adding eco power management type things there. And people have thought this one, but there's a new taskbar setting that will automatically hide the taskbar when you're using your device as a tablet. if you do use your device as a tablet, I'm sorry, because in Windows 11, that got really simplified too, and people hate it because there used to be a dedicated tablet mode. They're like, oh, maybe tablet mode's coming back. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's what this is. I think it's just one more setting for that mode that they have now, unfortunately. And then today we got, by the way, one of the things that is coming that's kind of exciting is there's a new task manager. So that one's been leaked a couple different times. Yeah. And the latest leak from this person, I don't know if it's a gentleman, but Albacore on Twitter.
Albacore, yeah.
Albacore, yeah. Says that they're going to add more information to the task manager, including app health, battery health, and more. We don't know what more is.
Sticker health. I'm sure there's
sticker health.
Sticker
Yeah. One of your stickers is not looking too good. Maybe try something a little more colorful. So, yeah, whatever. I think this is going to be I think these are some of the smaller things that are going to happen for the next feature update, basically.
Hopefully these are the smaller things, right? Because
these are pretty small, is what you're saying.
They're pretty small.
Well,
and
yeah. Listen, I even I could write an application that is a drop target for documents, but Microsoft apparently is incapable of doing that because the new taskbar doesn't do that. Like the old taskbar always did that. So what you find over time is that in their zeal to really simplify the OS, they really chopped off a bunch of functionality we used to have. Yeah. And if you're a person who relied on that functionality, and I don't even think it's fair to call these people power users at this point. I think a lot of people relied on different things that are kind of missing or in different locations now. It kind of throws you for a loop and it makes you a little bit less efficient. And I've been using Windows 11 since last June, and I still to this day will grab a file on my desktop, drag it down to the taskbar, wait for something to happen. I'm like, oh, right, I'm using Windows 11. Doesn't do that anymore. So maybe they'll bring that back. That would be a little better than, like, stickers to me, but they can do both as long as they do both.
I'm thinking there's going to be something that they consider a more, quote, major change coming because they did note in that blog post you were talking about earlier about the future of the Insider program that they're going to let you change rings, go from dev to beta soon, right?
Temporarily, right? Just to be clear, this is temporary. I don't understand why they can't just let you do that permanently. Yeah. But Microsoft, I don't know.
The window. Yeah, they want us to say the word window. The window of opportunity is opening and it will quickly close.
It's not a magic window, but it's like a magic window.
Yeah. 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 I didn't even write about the stickers and all these things. My editor's like, are you going to write about the stickers? I'm like, no. I'm not.
You're like, no, I have journalistic integrity. I don't know.
No.
It's like, I want to care. I do want to care because I'm sure there are people who care. Right?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like you're almost like you're being punked on Twitter when they say, oh, and the new feature is stickers.
Let's see if anyone writes about this.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I know.
I would say we're waiting for confirmation.
Yeah.
Well, okay. On the flip side, I will say this shows you how starved we are in a Windows 11 sense for any notification of anything new coming.
Yeah.
Yep.
So stickers. Yeah, I would normally ignore this as well, but we're not working with a lot here.
You do have to file. Every day something.
That's right.
Well, I think you should write a story about the brand new Windows Tempest. I'm sorry, Defender.
Yar's Revenge.
Yar's Revenge.
Oh, we did.
Oh,
we
man.
did write about that. Yeah.
Is this just I don't understand what's new.
Nobody does because they've given this name to 11 different things in the past 5 years.
Right. So first, let's talk about the problem of Defender. How do you solve a problem like Defender?
Right.
How do you catch a cloud and pin it down?
How do you solve a problem like Defender? Go ahead, Mother Superior. It's all on you.
Remember when Microsoft started branding everything .NET? Remember those days? We're back to this now with Defender, right? Everything is Defender now.
Remember when everything was called Outlook? Why don't we call it Outlook Defender to really confuse
Don't
them?
give them any ideas. They might do that.
Somewhere a light went off in Redmond.
Yeah.
Someone is racing to his boss's office.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
I have it.
So
I have it, boss.
this Defender,
I got it.
This particular Defender is the thing that I made the code name of the week like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
Gibraltar.
Gibraltar. Yeah.
Remember when we were talking about Gibraltar? Right. So this leaked back in the fall. Bleepingcomputer.com had a leak on this, and they're like, it looks like Microsoft's going to take Windows Defender, or what is now called Microsoft Defender for Windows, and they're going to overhaul it to make it something that not only protects your own PC, but it protects your family's devices that are part of your ecosystem. So it also gives you notifications about the phones that up to 5 phones and or Macs and or tablets. And you can see through a centralized view in this new Defender, the security status of all these things. So if there's a problem, you'll get a notification, you'll get an alert. So I'm like, wow, that seems like a pretty big deal. And then this preview of this exact functionality went live in the Microsoft Store on Windows. So if you're in the US or you set your region to US, you can download this now. I downloaded it and it downloaded onto my machine and worked. To get your devices to connect, there are a QR code, or you can send yourself an email link, and then you click on that, and then this Defender also goes onto your devices. So everything's great right now. All you need is a Microsoft account. It's free, but once they turn this on, it's not going to be free. You have to have a Microsoft 365 subscription, either the family or the personal subscription to use this.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just call it OneCare then, he asks.
Yeah, right? That's what it is, isn't it?
Right? Remember they used to charge people for antivirus?
Yeah.
They bought giant anti-malware. No, was it anti-spyware or anti-malware?
Yeah, one of those two.
I don't remember.
Giant. Yep. Yeah. So here's why they're not going to call it that, and they're going to try to shy away from saying they're charging you for anti-malware. So Defender is built into Windows 10 and Windows 11 through the thing that's called Windows Security. Like there's an app in your machine called Windows Security, and it has Defender in there for free, right? This thing, even though it's called Defender, is more like almost like a security management console than it is the anti-malware thing itself. Yeah, but just to keep it confusing, they're calling it Defender, right? This is why this is so confusing. The Defender branding thing, like they're going to call it Defender, right? It's called the Microsoft Defender.
What are they going to call Defender?
Yeah, exactly. And what are they going to call Windows Security? Are they going to rebrand that?
Well, by the way,
Defender?
Windows Security is another product or app or whatever you want to call it, whose name has changed at least 11 times since 2001. I mean, it has. Yeah. That's been called all kinds of things. Its name is Legion, I guess we say.
Yes. So,
crazy.
I was writing down all the things that have been rebranded in the past 2 years as Defender. There were like 10 things. And then I looked at my watch and I'm like, is it 5 o'clock somewhere? Because I definitely need a beer right now. I was like, wow, this is so confusing, so unbelievably confusing. And you're right, Paul. The thing that is Windows Security, you know what it used to be branded? Windows Defender.
Well, yeah. That was
Microsoft Security Essentials became Defender.
That's right. Yeah.
And
before
Defender,
that, it was Windows Live OneCare.
Before that, it was Giant Antivirus.
Giant antivirus. Well, I thought it was Giant anti-spyware or Giant anti-malware, something like that. But
forgive me, I misspoke.
No, it's okay.
I misspoke.
You're mixing your malware.
There was a version of Windows where that product actually had the ability to configure which apps started at boot time. Now that's built into Task Manager. I mean, the history of this stuff is insane. Yeah. And it sounds like it's getting even more insane.
There's a long tradition of that. When Microsoft decided it wanted to do a digital encyclopedia, Encarta, it bought the world's cheesiest encyclopedia, the one that you would get a book at a time at a grocery store. What was it? Was it Funkin' Wagnalls? What was it? They bought some cheesy thing and used it as the backbone and made it all right.
What was they have a rich history of doing that, though.
Yes.
Like, remember where they lost out on DoubleClick and they bought, what did they buy? That stupid company that no one ever heard of. It's like when you rage buy a number two. It just never works out.
Yeah.
No.
They bought Collier's Encyclopedia.
A lot of people were asking me if you could use this new Defender preview to also look at security status of your iPhone and iPad. In theory, yes, but in reality, no.
Right.
Kind of like your phone, right? Maybe someday it'll get more features and be able to do something on an iPhone and iPad, but I'm not blaming Microsoft. I'm blaming Apple for that. But yeah, it's mostly for managing Android, but also Macs and your Windows PC.
Frosty Winnipeg says you could call it Windows Security Sticker.
Right.
Okay, I like it.
This sticker says my security is great. Wait, that's just a bitmap?
It never changes.
Yeah. It's always been green. I thought I was fine.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, a little placebo works.
Yeah.
It's actually, I'm curious. It's pretty good, right? I mean, it does the job.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
It's come a long way, baby.
No.
It's it used to be one of those things that did poorly in those benchmark tests or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I honestly,
now it does well, right? It's always like the top.
This is one of those things you actually don't have to think too much about.
Yeah, you've got a good antivirus. This is what I tell everybody. Yep. You already have a good
in.
antivirus. It's built in. You don't need to add another one.
Yeah.
Save your money. Yep. McAfee does not need your money anymore.
Oh my God, talk about, I review a lot of laptops and the strained ways in which they beg you not to uninstall them. They basically scream as they go down. It's,
by the way, for code name,
crazy.
Sometime the code name for Encarta was Gandalf.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah. This is also for Frosty Winnipeg. After the successes of Compton's Multimedia Encyclopedia in 1989, in the early days of CD-ROMs, and the new Grolier Multimedia Encyclopedia in 1992, Microsoft initiated Encarta under the internal codename Gandalf by purchasing non-exclusive rights to Funkin' Wagnalls.
Non-exclusive.
Look, you can keep doing it. Grocery stores need an encyclopedia.
Sure.
And Encarta was actually pretty beautiful, I thought.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. Okay, now you know more about Encarta than you'd ever want to know, I think. Yeah. And the Giant acquisition was 2004. Thank you, Out of Sync. Our chat room is a font. Microsoft acquires anti-spyware leader Giant Company. There's a few too many adjectives, I think, in that sentence.
Yep. It was a good product.
Was Giant good?
Yeah, it was. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, but you're right. It was Giant anti-spyware. Yeah.
Before Microsoft bought them, I was using that product and recommended it. It was good.
Okay. So they are the ones who really turned it into antivirus.
Well, Microsoft needed something, obviously, right? Yeah. And being Microsoft, they didn't go about it the right way in the beginning, but they eventually got there. I think charging people to fix a problem you created is kind of problematic. But, whatever. But I made that case, 15 years ago.
Yeah, you can see somebody running down the hall saying, "We got to fix this."
Listen, I got a fire hose. Yeah, but you set fire to the theater. No, but I got the fire hose.
I got the hose here, see?
You should remember I got the hose. I just remember that part of it.
There's no need to fear. Giant malware is here.
Who is that?
I don't know.
That Steve Ballmer or something? It almost looks like him. It looks like the guy from MASH, Winchester.
Yeah, Frank.
A little bit.
I don't know who it is. It's some guy in an outfit. That's all we know.
Charles Winchester III.
Charles Winchester III.
Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting. According to some guy named Paul Thurrott, I don't know if it's credible.
Okay.
Probably not.
Microsoft is reportedly looking at acquiring Mandiant.
Oh, this is a news story. So I didn't actually write that story. You'll be
Laurent Giret.
interested.
Giret.
Yes. Well, okay. He is French.
Laurent. You call him Laurent Giret? Giret?
I try desperately not to say his name out loud too many times, but yes, I think I would say Laurent.
Laurent Giret.
Yeah.
He says Microsoft is reportedly in acquisition talks with Mandiant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Formerly
That was
FireEye.
Bloomberg.
Formerly
Bloomberg.
FireEye.
Yeah.
So that's more of an enterprise product, not a
Yes, right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that there was a whole messy thing last year where Mandiant sold off the FireEye products business.
Well, I was going to say, right,
McAfee.
you remember who they were, right? You remember who FireEye is, right?
McAfee.
I liked FireEye.
Yeah, but no, what was that guy's name? Mark, the guy who was like the only guy in FireEye back in the day.
Oh,
but
yeah.
This was the company that found the UPnP vulnerability
Right.
in Windows XP 2 months after it shipped.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Jim Alchin had to come home from his trip. You know, trustworthy computing happened. It was
Yep.
because of FireEye.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
That's
Right.
that's who that company
They
is.
had a good name.
Yep. I think.
No, they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember very well. We talked about Mandiant and FireEye actually quite a bit on Security Now.
Actually, this says FireEye was founded in 2000.
Yeah, and then Mandiant became a subsidiary of FireEye.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know.
It's all complicated.
It was a mess. It was a big mess.
It's all complicated.
Yeah.
And FireEye.
So Mandiant got split out, right. From FireEye. Mandiant's the enterprise part, like you said. And Mandiant and Microsoft already have a lot of things going on in terms of deals around
joint business.
managed defense products and E5 and blah, blah, blah. So they're not strangers to each other. So it wouldn't be surprising to see Microsoft buy them. That makes sense. Right?
Yeah. Good. All right. We'll keep an eye on
sorry,
that.
guys. It was EI Security
EI.
that discovered EI.
Okay.
EI. Oh.
Yeah, EI. This is UMP vulnerability in Windows XP.
It's
And it
in
was-
the
it was
early
close.
days of security companies, they had a lot. Remember Woo Woo? And the
No.
Cult of the Dead Cow? They had a lot of odd names. In the
Oh,
early
yes.
days.
I remember that.
Yeah. Cult of the Dead Cow guy went around and around and he was at Twitter, just left Twitter. He was a security guy at Twitter.
Of course he was.
Of course he was.
Oh, my God. This is just...
This is the rat hole that
I know. This is my brain.
Twit
really.
can suck you into a rat hole like that.
Yes.
So let's move on. Is there a Windows 10 and 11 app installer vulnerability? Yes, there is.
This is crazy. And this
Steve
is
talked
actually
about
another...
this last night. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I this is another thing I talked to Raphael about, and he was literally kind of pushing me towards saying what he was hoping I was going to say, which was what I eventually did say, which is this. The MSIX is an app packaging format that Microsoft uses for .NET apps, right? So, for example, .NET Pad, that's actually how it's distributed if you choose to deploy it in any way. And MSIX is an app deployment protocol, I guess, technically, or uses an app deployment protocol that allows apps to be installed from a server, which could be on your network, or from a web server, which could be anywhere in the world, right? So they found there's no supposed known exploits, but they did, or someone told them, and they found that it was true. There is a vulnerability that can spoof these things. In other words, you could put malware on your computer very easily. So what Microsoft did was, if you click the link to install one of these things remotely, it downloads it to your computer instead of installing it, so you're safe. Except then you can just install it from your desktop or whatever, and like, well, how does that? That doesn't mitigate anything. All you did was download the malware. Now it's sitting there waiting to be installed. So this thing actually doesn't do much of anything except add a step to getting the malware. And supposedly what they're going to do is, or I assume what they're going to do is release a fix of some kind. So that is kind of scary, because if somebody spoofs the install, they'll spoof the thing that you downloaded, and you'll get the bad, malware-laden package, if that's what it is.
Right.
Theoretically. It's used by everybody these days. It's actually very common. So
It's the default installer. I mean, it's the installer, right?
it is, yeah, you might call it it is the way to install apps on Windows. It's not the only way, but it's the
preferred.
it's the way.
Except, is it?
Yeah, I think it is.
Sure it is. Sure it is. And by the way, by popular demand, somebody was saying, don't you have a theme song for rat holes?
What?
We do.
I hope it's Round and Round by
It's not a long theme song.
Oh, that's that was the whole thing.
Well, there's a longer version. I don't seem to have that.
Is that just the way it ends?
Yeah.
I hope it starts with like Wipeout.
It's a tribute to Merlin Mann, who used to go, on MacBreak Weekly just take the whole thing off track, and so we had the little song we would play that went something like 43 folders of rat holes, but all that remains of this is just the one rat hole. But honestly, if you're in a rat hole, you don't need a long jingle to announce it. You could just,
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I'll find it somewhere.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's well done. We in the early days of Twit, because our production values were so poor, people would like give us music and stuff. Now, people go, "You don't need my music. You're in living color now."
Well, now they probably just ask you to pay for stuff.
Yeah, they want money. Yeah.
Do you accept guest hosts on your network, Leo? Hi, my name is Bob.
Oh my God!
From a content,
that
blah,
is
blah,
a
blah.
plague. If you have a blog anywhere, that is a plague.
Yeah.
That's all I get.
Do you get those too, Mary Jo?
90% of my emails.
Yep.
And then they send another one saying, maybe you missed my first one. Then they send a third one saying, aren't you listening? It's like, no, I'm not.
No, it's
I just send back one word. I send back no.
Oh,
I block all these things.
I don't send.
I block them.
I never reply.
And I get these reports every week from Google that's like, man, you block a lot of spam. Is everything all right?
Really? Is everything all right?
Yeah, they're freaking out. They're like,
you're in trouble when you get Google
you blocked
asking
70% more spam this week than you did last week.
That's sentiment analysis. Is everything all right? You seem a little angry.
Is everything? Yeah. Is this you? How can we tell this is you?
HoloLens 3. Now, I've heard conflicting back and forth reports on this, and I figured while I was on vacation, it came to me, you know who would know? Paul and Mary Jo.
I'm not dead.
Is it dead? What's going on?
Okay. So this is based on a Business Insider report. I read through the whole thing and I'm like, it seems credible to me. I don't know for a fact if HoloLens 3 got canceled in the middle of 2021 or not. I think it's very telling about HoloLens that no one noticed if it did get canceled in the middle of 2021 until now.
Fair enough.
But the story says Microsoft canceled it. Their whole metaverse strategy is in disarray, which I disagree with, because right now HoloLens has absolutely no connection to what Microsoft's doing in the metaverse. I mean, not none, but very tangential, right?
Right.
They kind of went back and said, those reports you read from the Wall Street Journal and other places saying how hundreds of Microsoft people have quit to join Meta, like Don Box, we were talking about, and a lot of other people to work on their basically their equivalent.
They were
version.
after the stock options, but
that's what I said. I'm like, no, they wanted the money.
They are a little underwater now.
How do you feel about Ferraris?
Yeah. No, and then Alex Kipman got in the middle of it, and he said, I see some people saying HoloLens 2 was canceled, and we shipped that in 2019. Well, a lot of people in the chat room and may remember it did get canceled. There was going to be a HoloLens 2 in 2017, and they canceled it and came out with a HoloLens in 2019 that they called the HoloLens 2.
Which
I think
would have
that's
been
what's going
HoloLens
on.
3, by the way.
Yeah. That's what I think is happening, right? Like I'm like, okay, they may have canceled HoloLens 3, but they're going to come out with something at some point called HoloLens, right?
Look, what do you think Alex Kipman is going to say? Alex Kipman, the only guy left with the light on and the door behind him in this part of Microsoft, because everyone has left. Obviously, he's going to say nothing's wrong, everything's fine. He has to say that. So
he does.
His commentary on this, I think, all you need to know about it is he didn't tell you the truth about what happened to HoloLens 2, so you can skip the rest of that tweet. It's just just wrong. Sorry. Yeah. It's very clear a lot of people have left Microsoft and that part of the company to go to Meta, especially. This is a fact. Right. I mean, this has just happened. So, I mean, I think you're right. I think this is the same situation as before. They're recalibrating. Pardon the pun, and we'll see what happens.
Right. So the monkey wrench in all of this is Business Insider throws in this other thing and says they're also working with Samsung on a consumer version of this, right?
And that's, by the way, which is nuts.
If they are.
No, they are. We already know they are. Samsung has been making mixed reality headsets for years.
Yeah. But
This
but they
is not,
made it sound like it's not that necessarily, but like some future thing.
What I mean by nuts is I don't think that has anything to do with HoloLens. That Microsoft, like you kind of alluded to this up front, Microsoft has mixed reality solutions, which is VR, right? Like these headsets for Windows, and it has AR, which is a standalone headset called HoloLens. All of Microsoft's VR competitors now have moved to like standalone headset type things. It's possible that what Microsoft is working on with Samsung and probably with other partners is a standalone VR, what they would call an MR headset. And that could be new, and that's fine. But that doesn't impact HoloLens. There's always been a very distinct difference between the two platforms. You know, they do similar things, but they're not the same thing.
Right.
So
Plus, Microsoft does have that $22 billion contract with the Army for HoloLens-like technology, right? And that contract is running behind. That is a fact. It's not working out as they wanted it to. But I can't imagine, unless the Army cancels that contract, that Microsoft would just be like, you know what, forget it. We're not doing HoloLens, right? Forget it.
But I could imagine them saying, you know what, this, not consumer, but this enterprise product that has found a market and niche uses for whatever companies is doing okay. This government thing, this Army thing is way more important. We're going to put whatever resources we have into making this thing, which is no doubt a highly customized, secretive kind of side project that you could call a HoloLens 2.5 or something, whatever. It's something completely, not completely, but slightly different. They're going to put their focus on that. Yeah. And I think with all those people leaving, what are you going to do? You got to focus on the thing that's making the money.
You do. Also, remember when we were talking about at CES, Qualcomm making that weird announcement about working with Microsoft on chips for augmented reality and mixed reality? Now that announcement makes way more sense that Microsoft didn't say anything at the time, right? Because it was Qualcomm who announced it. And they didn't say it was going to be for the HoloLens. They just said for future mixed reality, XR devices. So they could have been referring to the Samsung thing when they talked about that, right? That might be why Microsoft said nothing. Because they were like, what are we going to say?
There's a huge divide between a consumer-oriented virtual reality headset, no matter how it connects to anything, and an augmented reality headset that so far has been aimed at the enterprise market and now government/military. Yeah. Right. These are, we were talking about Atari video games earlier. It's like comparing like Battlezone to an actual tank. They're similar, but they're not the same thing.
Right. I thought there was Daniel Rubino on Windows Central wrote a good editorial about this, and he brought up the fact that the reason everyone's looking at this is because Apple's going to come into the market, right? And so more and more people are like, okay, what's going to happen here? Microsoft already has a head start, but does it even matter? Samsung needs to compete with Apple because they don't really have a way directly to, right? So, what if Samsung and Microsoft work together as Samsung does the hardware, Microsoft, but then you're like, what does Microsoft contribute here, right? If Samsung does the hardware and if it has to be Android, like, what's Microsoft doing in that picture?
Maybe they're bringing what is now called Windows Mixed Reality to Android. Right. And that's how they do it as a standalone product. Maybe it made more sense than a Windows on ARM.
Yeah, you don't need a full-bore general-purpose operating system.
You don't.
Yeah.
You don't want it.
The other thing is, regarding Apple, by the way, I mean, as far as like AR goes, real-world usage, I bet the number one AR application in the world is like Pokemon Go or something very similar to that.
Exactly.
On a phone, right.
Well, right. And if you look at AR solutions on like an iPhone or an iPad especially, honestly, that's way more of a mainstream experience where you could walk into a museum and do the thing I always talk about. We have a dinosaur skeleton in front of you. You hold up your iPad, then you see the dinosaur, People are doing that now.
Right.
No one's you can't do anything with what are you going to do with a VR headset? You can't walk around with those things on.
No.
Right.
It's a different type of experience. And you might argue on that note, Apple is already in the lead without even having a headset.
Yeah.
Just as far as people actually using it,
I don't know if it's misdirection, but when they asked Tim Cook about it last week in the earnings call, he said, well, we have the largest number of AR applications in the world on iPhone and iPad.
Well, there you go. But that's almost certainly true. Like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's where the mainstream is. They're using it on their phones or maybe their iPads.
Yep.
VR has been that thing we've been looking for years and years and years. It has a niche, kind of a space, especially in gaming, and an even smaller niche among people who are just doing experiential things, really flying virtually through a rainforest or something, or a kelp farm or whatever it is. But and that's cool. I mean, I'm not making fun of that, but I mean, it's not. No. It's just not something we're all zoning out in front of TV still. We're not zoning out together on a couch with headsets on, right? That's just not really happening.
Right. You know, when Microsoft did the HoloLens, I used to always think, why does it have to be a Windows device? Like, why does it have to be a mini version of Windows in there? Because Microsoft has other operating systems, right? They own the embedded operating system. What's it called? RTOS, right? They have Azure IoT Core and Azure IoT Edge. Why can't they use something else and stream the content from the cloud somehow?
I think the answer to that, and this, I'm not defending this, I'm just saying, I think the actual answer is they had that one Windows idea where they were going to have a single programming platform that was going to work across all these device types, phones, headsets, consoles, Windows computers, right? And we can debate whether that made sense when they did it. We know it hasn't really worked out. Right. But I think that's why, the first version of HoloLens, wasn't it? It was Intel based. The second version is ARM based, I think.
It is.
We might have talked about this last week. I don't remember, but I mean, it's, why is it right? Because why does a whale have a vestigial leg in the rear of his body? Because
What?
It goes back to the past.
What?
No, because it was a thing a long time ago.
Come on.
This is really
what?
This was a thing for this animal a long time ago. This platform was a thing for Microsoft.
No, you're right. In
the past,
you're right. They had the crazy, maybe not so crazy idea of one Windows everywhere. When that fell apart, though, it feels like shouldn't they have gone back to the drawing board and said, okay, so that was a bad idea. Right, like that didn't work. We don't have
Microsoft
a phone anymore.
They can never turn their back on anything. That's one of the problems with this company.
But maybe that's what's happening now, right? Maybe somebody, probably not Alex Kipman, but somebody is saying, why are we running this on Windows right now? Like, does this make sense to do this?
Right. Yep. Is there something lighter weight? And I always thought, even when UWP was new, or I should say when UWP was new, I always sort of argued that for this thing to be truly universal, they should have brought it to Android and the web, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And that maybe if you could run your apps on Android, then what we're describing could make. By the way, that may be literally what they're about to do. I have no idea. I mean, maybe that's finally happening. I don't know.
I keep thinking streaming is going to play in. Like they figured out how to do virtualizing of games. They figured out how to do virtualized Windows with Windows 365, the cloud PC stuff. I'm like, there's got to be a streaming angle to this because they've got the cloud, right? You think, what do they have as their assets? They've got the cloud, right? And they've got a deal with Samsung. So what can they do combining these two things when you don't have a phone of your own in the middle?
Interesting.
How do you make this work, right?
Yep. Wow, this HoloLens thing was way more interesting than I thought it was going to be. I have to say.
No, I'm glad they got the story, if it is correct. I mean, again, if it is correct, because, Microsoft's got a quote in there that they've given to me and other people saying, we're not giving up on HoloLens. We're still going forward with HoloLens. So it begs the question, like, is HoloLens just going to become a very niche thing or maybe just a military thing or just industrial? And then they also are doing these other things that Business Insider heard about on the side, right?
They said the same thing about Silverlight, Mary Jo. You know that.
I know. They say it all the time. You got to always look at their quotes and say, there's one word in here that's giving them an out. Where is the vestigial leg?
Okay. I'm sorry I used that example.
I'm never going to be able to forget about it until I work it into a story somehow now.
Yep.
Now, do you ever do this, like words you want to put in stories or expressions? I actually, in the story I wrote about the HoloLens 3, I got the word hoo-ha in there, if it's a word.
I saw that.
And I'm like, look at that. Yes.
This hasn't happened in a while, but my wife used to sometimes challenge me to use a word in it. She says, just use this word today in a story. It would always be some
we did that at ZDNet all the time. We'd go back and forth like, can you get this word in a story today?
But so the funny thing is, like, she doesn't read anything I write, so she's not really privy to my style. So she would come up with some word, and I'd be like, I use that word all the time. She's like, what? And in her world, it would be ridiculous to use, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a word, an example of this.
I think we have to start doing that, you and me, like challenging each other.
A word challenge, today's word challenge.
Today's word challenge. Get this in a story somehow.
Yeah.
Hoo-ha. Yeah.
Hoo-ha.
Hoo-ha was fun to get in there.
Yeah.
That's good.
I
It's
said
like
the
Wordle.
metaverse right now is a lot of hoo-ha. I think that's
a fair description.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about a word like hoo-ha is it's got plausible deniability.
Exactly.
You could say, well, you know what I
does.
meant when I said hoo-ha.
I mean, I'm celebrating it.
Like,
I love
woohoo.
hoo-ha.
Could be woo-ha.
You know how Marines say, like, booyah?
Booyah,
It's like,
yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. Hoo-ha! Microsoft 365. Steve made a big deal over this, disabling macros.
Yeah. It does seem like a big deal.
Steve's position was, what took you so long? I mean, they've always had that
Right.
warning, but the warning was so gentle that, and the only button you saw was enable, that it really didn't protect anybody.
Help anybody,
Yeah.
right.
But I understand
So
why they did that, because they don't want to disable
Me too.
functionality either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Microsoft never just cuts stuff off, right? Like they have to have a gradual path as an exit. So starting early April, Microsoft's going to make it a lot harder to enable VBA macros in their Office apps, which is good. Like you said, what took them so long? Because the reason we're saying why it's good is Gossie the dog, Kevin Beaumont, the security expert, he said a very conservative number, 25% of all ransomware is from these macros. Very conservatively.
That's enough. That's a good number.
Yeah, that's a big number,
That's
right?
a goodly number, yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to see a message bar saying security risk. Microsoft has blocked macros from running because the source of this file is untrusted, and a learn more button that'll take you to an article about why these are risky, bad actors, such and such.
Yeah.
It'll be good. And then they're going to add it to other versions of Office as time goes on, like all the Office 365 apps, then Office LTSC, Office 2021, 2019, all of it's going to get this. So it's good news. And one of those things you're like, why did it take this long? Why did it take this long? Because people use macros.
Yeah.
Right? That's why.
Yeah.
Is it possible to deploy a VBA macro with MSIX?
Let's just
the worst of all worlds.
Cross the streams, right? Crossing the streams.
Yeah. I know.
That was the ultimate insider Microsoft joke when you think about it.
That pretty much was.
If you laughed at that joke, something is wrong with you.
You listen to Windows Weekly is what it is. Yeah.
I'm going to dream about it now tonight. About that scenario.
So I'm sorry I jumped on the Mandiant story. I see you have it here, so I apologize.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
No worries.
Wait a minute. Now, this next line has to
I
be
think there's a
wrong.
typo.
I think there's a
here.
typo. It says Microsoft Viva has 10, count them, monthly active
damn it, it's
users.
10.
Is 10 the number you wanted?
Just 10.
Yes.
10 million?
Add a million.
10
Add a million to that.
A million and 10?
Million.
10 million.
10
10
plus
million.
million.
That's not that many when you have
Yeah, I was kind of
1.5
thinking
billion
that too.
users. Yeah.
The way but you have to remember this targets enterprises, and the more important number, perhaps, let me see if I can find it, is they have over 1,000 paying customers, which are companies like PayPal, REI, Unilever, et cetera. So among them, there are over 10 million monthly active users. Also, the other thing is this was kind of timed to what they're calling the 1-year anniversary of Viva.
Yeah.
This is not the 1-year anniversary. This is the 1-year anniversary of when they announced it. It went into public preview a few months later. It became generally available in early November. And I don't think 100% of it is GA. I think it's like 3/4 of it or something. I don't remember exactly which
I
components.
think all of it is now. But
Oh, you think it is now? Okay. Yeah, so it's not as bad as it sounds. The other thing is, Microsoft as Microsoft kind of moved to Office 365 and then Microsoft 365, there's been this growing kind of grumbling in the partner space. And part of this thing is they're training partners to support Viva, solutions for companies, right? So the Accentures, Avanades of the world, et cetera.
Yep.
And those folks have trained over 5,000 employees. Of their employees, I should say, to be consultants and technical architects for Viva. So this is, it's an HR platform. It's gross because it's for this hybrid world that nobody wants and whatever, but it's unfortunately pretty necessary. So,
right. Microsoft calls this their employee experience platform. So it does a lot of different things. It's kind of like the SharePoint of an HR app.
But it's mostly for bosses, right? I mean,
the SharePoint of HR.
It does a lot of different things though. Like there's Viva Insights, which is the way you can see how much time you and your employees are spending in meetings and those kinds of things. Viva Connections is Yammer, basically, like showing people, okay, we want everybody in the company to see this. Viva Learning is how you can get employees to do more both work learning and personal learning through all different kinds of courses from Microsoft and third parties. And Viva Topics is like the knowledge management part of this. So when you hear about like who at your company knows about topic X, an easy way to find out about that. So all these things are put together into this employee experience platform. You don't need to buy the whole platform, but you can deploy and buy these separate modules if you want.
Gross. Yeah.
Viva.
Anyway, terrible.
But you know what it's good for? I have to say, not that I've used this personally. No, onboarding people during the pandemic, like all these people who got added to companies or switched companies, there was no easy way because you weren't going into an office to get them up to speed, right?
Absolutely.
Like you're like,
right.
okay, use Viva and go check out all the things you need to know about all the ways we're working with people in the company, notices, your own time management, all that stuff in one place. That I can see that as being valuable, right? So
all we've heard about the past year and a half is how everyone's quitting their jobs for some reason, which I don't understand.
Yeah.
But imagine onboarding into a new company during a pandemic where you're going to be working from home. You don't know if it's temporary or permanent or who knows. And no one had this stuff in place to do this virtually. So.
No, or if your company buys another company, right? Like Microsoft buying Activision, they're going to add 10,000 people. Okay, these people aren't going to go into an office unless something changes drastically between now and when they actually buy them. So how do you get them up to speed with the Microsoft way? How are they going to know about growth mindset without this? Come on. It's important. So,
a growth mindset. You got so that was that your challenge today? Get that phrase into the podcast.
That was my word.
That was the word. She got it.
I'm going to say growth mindset, and I'm not going to laugh when I say it.
Can she put growth mindset in a sentence and not laugh?
And can she be serious?
Ding, 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 ding. Congratulations.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Did it, guys? Okay, I'm done. My work is done here.
Why don't you relax? Take a little time, and I will do a commercial. How about that?
Okay.
And then
more of
when
an
we come
attrition
back,
mindset, but that's fine.
Attrition mindset?
Just slowly
fading away. Entropy, ennui.
Does he seem further to the horizon today?
Lingerie. Our show today brought to you by, I'm very happy to say, the good folks at New Relic. I am a big fan of New Relic. I've known about them for a long time. If you're a software engineer, if you're a sysadmin, if you run a network, you know the 3 a.m. call, right? The one you just don't want to get, in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden something's down. The server's broken. The front end's blocked. Whatever. And of course, it's all up on you, right? So you're going, what the heck is going on? Is it the back end? Is it the front end? Is it global? Is it local? Is it the server? Is it the network? Is it the cloud provider? Did I push a bug in my last deploy? Do we have slow running queries? Wouldn't you like it if, the whole team's up, you're buzzing around, you're messaging back and forth. It's 3 a.m. You're in your jams. You don't need to be doing this. You need New Relic. You need observability. That's the word. You need a window into what's happening on your network and your systems. According to a New Relic study, only about half of all organizations have implemented observability on their networks and systems. Half. That means the other half are getting up at 3 a.m. going, what happened? New Relic's the solution. These 3 a.m. phone calls are a thing of the past, where if they do happen, you press a button, you say, you look at your dashboard, you go, oh, well, I could see what happened here and fix it. New Relic combines now, and they're always adding more, 16 different monitoring products that you normally buy separately that'll let you see in the entire stack in one easy space. You get application monitoring, which is fantastic. Unified monitoring for your applications, your microservices. If you use Kubernetes, you know about Pixie. You should. If you don't, get it. Love it. You have distributed tracing, which means you can see all your traces without management headaches, so you can find and fix issues fast. Network performance monitoring that goes through the data silo out into the whole system, a system-wide correlated view. So you're not like going, well, this one's all right. This is okay. It's okay here. No, you know the whole thing. And that's just 4 of the 16 tools. There's so much more. More importantly, you can pinpoint issues right down to the line of code. So you can say, oh yeah, was that fix I pushed? Let's fix the fix. You know exactly what the problem is, and you can refresh it and resolve it quickly. That's why the devs and ops teams at DoorDash use it. GitHub uses it. Epic Games at 14,000 companies use New Relic to debug and improve their software. Doesn't matter if you're a cloud-native startup or a Fortune 500, New Relic is for you. It'll take 5 minutes to set up in your environment. I mean, I'm serious. It's quick. And you know, that next 3 a.m. call is just out there waiting to get you. So you get New Relic before it gets you. You can, and this is the best part, you can have access to the entire New Relic platform and 100 gigs of data free forever. You don't even need to give them a credit card. So what's stopping you? Sign up at New Relic, NEWRELIC, newrelic.com/Windows. I can't imagine life without New Relic. You shouldn't have to. newrelic.com/Windows. Thank you, New Relic. Appreciate your support of Windows Weekly. And for you listeners and viewers, that's how you support us back. You go to newrelic.com/Windows. Go ahead. Just talk about, it's over. NVIDIA and ARM is over.
Last week this was rumored. This week it's true.
Yeah, we knew it was going
basically.
We knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. So here's the weird outcome here that's possible. ARM is owned by SoftBank. SoftBank has said they intend to basically spin this company off, have an IPO. It will become a public, independent company, and then it can just be bought by some terrible company. So I don't know what you guys were all voting against, but now someone like Google's going to buy them or something. Yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens.
An IPO, though, would keep them out of the hands of the big boys, wouldn't it?
Would it? Okay.
Would it? So. Maybe not.
Well, until somebody buys them, if they can, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're just giving up on anyone buying them because of.
It was a steep price. It ended up. It's funny because it started low, and then as the value went up, it ended up being like $42 billion or something. It was a huge amount of money.
Yeah, and I think there was, it's like a lot of these deals, they had to, get some kind of financing or partner on this, and I'm sure it just would have been really tricky. But the central problem for me here is maybe I don't understand it. I don't see what the opposition to NVIDIA was exactly. NVIDIA should have done, we're going to talk about Microsoft and Activision in a little bit, but they should have had a PR campaign similar to what Microsoft's doing, made some promises, about what they would have done with the technology and how they would have continued licensing it, the same partner, same everything. They should have been a little more transparent maybe, but it's over. So what you going to do?
I think it's probably a good thing. I mean, I was intrigued by the idea of a giant powerhouse of video, but probably better not to have that happen. I'm thinking.
Yep.
Let's talk Xbox. Mary Jo, I'll take you off camera so you can roll your eyes.
No, the first story I'm interested in here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Activision, as I'll call it, Activision Blizzard, right, is the publisher behind the Call of Duty series and many other popular games. But Call of Duty has, I'm speaking from firsthand experience here, has had some problems in recent years in that it's just the same game over and over again, and they keep redoing the same genres over and over again. You know, the big things that have been popular for them in the past, obviously World War II, where they started. The Modern Warfare series has probably been the biggest thing. And then Black Ops, which I think we can all agree is just like Modern Warfare, so whatever. They went back to World War II last year. Curious choice. Didn't go very well. And I don't know if that's probably not the first time ever, but they actually earned less money in the quarter ending December 31st than they did in the same quarter a year ago.
Oh.
Revenues were down 11.6%. And their monthly average users fell from 397 million to 371 million. Almost certainly, well, a combination of factors, right? First of all, I think the world's kind of moving on in some ways also to different types of games, right? So these battle royale games like Fortnite are very popular. Call of Duty has a version of that, of course. And it does well, but I think, I don't know what I think, but yeah, Microsoft's buying them, so everything's fine. Don't worry about it. But it's kind of interesting.
But that's why, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Microsoft's looking for companies that are cheap, right? Like, or
That's right.
undervalued or whatever, right? So,
this company is worth a lot less now than it was 2 years ago, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely.
Yep.
Definitely. So anyway, yeah, the new Call of Duty game has not done so well, and Activision admitted that, whatever. Anyhow, just in other related news, last week, Leo was gone for this, but last week Sony announced their quarterly earnings, and we talked about the PlayStation sales have gone down actually year over year as well. That can be partially attributed to the component shortage, obviously, but that has kind of dropped off more quickly than was expected. Nintendo also had to adjust their sales estimates for the future and also sold fewer consoles than they did a year ago, but they're still going gangbusters. Like, they sold almost 11 million Switch consoles in the fourth quarter. Lifetime is almost 104 million. It is now Nintendo's best-selling console of all time. Not their best-selling game device. I know they have portable Game Boy things that have sold better, but still, like, this is pretty impressive. And as far as the future goes, they actually did drop their estimates for the current fiscal year down by 1 million units, but they still expect to sell 23 million units in the year. That's pretty impressive. So they're doing great. but the big news is, and this is an awesome example of timing and karma that I love so much. Microsoft announced today in a very long blog post their open App Store principles, which they have talked about before, by the way. And in fact, in a legal filing in the Epic versus Apple case, they mentioned these basic principles. And they're basically putting their money where their mouth is, so to speak. So they had done this before for Windows. Remember, I think last year they made an announcement along these lines about how they would allow developers to use third-party payment systems, unlike other companies who will not be named. They'll hold their apps to the same standards we hold to third-party apps, meaning we're not going to promote our stuff over other companies' stuff. Transparent about the rules and all that. It goes on and on. It's a big thing, but it's such good timing because Apple and Google right now are involved in antitrust cases all around the world, including the United States, for their, I would say, disgusting policies with regards to app fees and payment systems and all that kind of stuff. And Microsoft, which, granted lost out in the mobile space, but if Xbox has proven anything to the world, it's that failure, if handled properly, can be like one of the best things that ever happened to you, because Xbox has turned into such a gamer-centric platform. And by failing in the mobile app space with Windows Phone, they are now turning into the same thing for app stores. And they're doing that on Windows, and they're going to try to do it as much as possible on Xbox. That's a little trickier because the console rules are a little tighter, but they have basically 11 principles, and they're saying, like, right away we'll be able to do the first 7, and then we're going to work toward getting Xbox pushed over on the remaining 4 as well. But they also brought up the Activision Blizzard thing, which really I think was really the point of this post today, which is, by the way, we may now be the third biggest gaming company by revenue when we make this acquisition, but we're not going to turn into Apple or Google. And our app store is going to be open. It's going to be fair to everybody. And as far as Activision Blizzard goes, they have promised to make Call of Duty and other popular Activision titles available on PlayStation, not just through the terms of any existing agreements, but past those terms.
That's good news, right?
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do.
They actually explicitly said they want to take these games to Nintendo, too, right? That thing I just mentioned, the best-selling console of all time, I guess,
why wouldn't they?
Right. But the point of all this is it's like they're striking at exactly the right moment. You know, the whole world has risen up to complain about Apple and Google, and they're like, hey, remember us? Yeah, we have an app store too. I know you don't know it. We do. Trust us, we have one. And it's way fairer than what those guys are doing.
But as Apple will point out, they charge 30%, just like Apple, right? The developer pays Microsoft.
I don't think 30%. It's that high anymore.
Oh, maybe not.
No, isn't it like 15 now?
Oh, okay.
It's even less than that on Windows. On Windows, it's
or
tiny.
5.
On Windows, it's low, but nobody cares about Windows. I'm talking about the Xbox.
No.
On the Xbox, right. So that's what they're saying. So, so the problem on Xbox is that is the original walled garden kind of thing. It's where Apple got all their ideas, right, from the video game stores.
Yeah, both PlayStation and Microsoft at least used
dating
to
back to
30.
Nintendo, just the whole control they used to have over that ecosystem with the NES, right, back in the late 80s. So, yes, they're going to, if you look at the final 4 terms, right, that's where things get kind of interesting. These are the terms that are based, these are the developer terms, right? We will not require developers to use our in-app payment system. We will not require developers to provide more favorable terms in our store than they do in other stores. We will not disadvantage developers if they choose to use a third-party payment system.
All of this is against Apple. This is the opposite.
Yeah.
This sounds like they took Apple's contract and they added not to every sentence. It's very interesting. So this is a great. This is smart for Microsoft on so many levels. It's smart because they want this Activision acquisition to go through. It's smart because they are explicitly opposing Apple in that Epic case, which I think is very interesting. Epic and Apple, or Apple and Microsoft. Epic and Microsoft used to be at odds because Tim Sweeney couldn't stand Microsoft. Remember, he hated Windows 8 because it had an app or store in it, and he was afraid they were going to try to kill Steam and kill everybody and blah, 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 whatever. He was in that job at the time. But anyway, now these guys are like bosom buddies. And standing up to Apple is an interesting stance for Microsoft. And you got to remember, it wasn't that long ago, Microsoft tried to get Xbox Game Pass's Xbox Cloud Gaming service into the App Store. And Apple said, no. We have to review every one of those games, and every single game you put in there, we want that 30% fee on. And they said, no, it's not. It's a streaming thing. We're not selling things. It's just like Netflix. They stream movies. And they're like, no, it's not just like Netflix. Netflix doesn't have games. Netflix actually does have games now. But at the time, Netflix was just movies and TV shows. And in Apple's little bizarro world, those are two different things. So they're trying to push back against all those things.
Yep. I would say I wrote about this too today because 75% of what Microsoft did today with these principles is about Activision Blizzard and them knowing that they got to get ahead of this, right? Like they already know they're going to face incredibly tough scrutiny, and that you can watch every blog post they put a little tidbit to try to keep the thread going that we're going to do the right thing. We're going to be fair. By the way, we're only going to be the number 3 game company after this, not number 1, right? And we want to do the right thing by customers and blah, blah, blah. This is all about that. Well, I wouldn't say all, 75%. 25% is like, let's also use this blog post to dig into Apple, right? Most of this is regulatory stuff. 25% is like, get Apple while we're at it. Let's just do
it's like 2,800 words on app stores and freedom, and then, and Apple sucks.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Okay, but I wonder if... Okay, so one thing I thought Microsoft might do is require Game Pass, require the subscription to Game Pass, even if you're playing it on the PS5.
They still might, right?
See, I
doesn't say they won't.
Right, and so they haven't ruled that out, right?
We'll see.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
It would, but if you look at the world today, and I think the world for the foreseeable next, several years, whatever, we move from disc-based games being primary sell point on consoles to digital downloads. Mm-hmm. Eventually, probably streaming will be a big chunk of it, but I don't think it's fair to say it's going to just take over and be it. Like, I don't think it becomes it. I think it would be insane for any game publisher to only make games available that way. So it's far more likely that they'll offer those games for sale and via Game Pass.
Don't you think it'll be just like music? It'll be like music, right? It'll be almost everybody uses online, but if you really want to buy it, you still can. But
I think it gets there. I just don't think it happens that quick.
Yeah.
I will see. I mean, maybe maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But the world is moving in that direction. I just don't think it happens overnight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, this is exactly the
this.
PR.
Yeah, this is like Microsoft doing PR. Like, it's a master class on how to do PR after you got burned by the antitrust regulators. You're like, here's what we learned. This is what we need to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like, not just charge them with Bill Gates. Right.
But they failed, right? Xbox failed with the Xbox One.
Right.
Windows Phone failed, right?
Yep.
And the Windows, the Microsoft Store, which used to be called the Windows Store, failed. That whole one Windows, it's failed. Yep. Those things all failed. Mm-hmm. So you could give up and go home and, take your ball and get out of here. Or you could completely recast and just do something completely new. And I think, look, there's no solution for mobile, but what they did with Xbox, I think, is kind of magic for people who care about games. Like, it's amazing. Yeah. And when you looking at something like Minecraft and how what they're doing with that today, every week there's a freaking Minecraft announcement. They keep adding content to it. It's crazy.
Awesome. So great.
They're going to be amazing stewards for Activision Blizzard. So
that's what I say. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Did so Apple's going through now in its regulatory scrutiny, what I would call the defiant stage.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You saw them flip the bird to the
it's the
Dutch
7
regulators.
stages of antitrust reaction.
Did Microsoft ever go through a defiant stage?
What? Microsoft only went through a defiant stage. What are you talking about?
They kind of got stuck at the defiant stage.
I think that, exactly.
So
is it a good strategy? I mean, might Apple succeed? No. In the long
it's not.
run,
By the way,
terrible strategy.
Yeah. So people probably forget this, but it just came up in the news the other day. Remember Intel's 2005, whatever it was, antitrust ruling in the EU was thrown out? Remember this just happened?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When that trial was still new, Microsoft had already gotten burned by the US, almost got broken up. They were going heavy in the EU at the time. Those guys forced Microsoft to change Windows in ways that are insane when you look back on it. Mm-hmm. And Intel got sued by the European Commission or the European Union. And they were like, we give up. We'll just pay the fine. We're sorry. We'll stop doing it. They literally they didn't do it. Looking at what happened to Microsoft, they were like, we can't afford a decade of this.
Yeah. They
just gave in. Now, behind the scenes, because, Europe's slow, they've been filing, things. Yeah. They actually just got it overturned, and that's what you can do when you're not belligerent, right? They're going to get the money back. Mm-hmm. Apple has a self-righteous indignation to them that is as understandable as it is disgusting, but it's not going to work well for them. And Microsoft, if you look at this thing, please, and do this, read their posts, read what they say, and compare it to what Apple says about their App Store and how the only stance they can make is, we're doing it to protect the users, right? This is why. Like the fees are there because we're trying to keep the store safe for everybody. That's all they can say. The fees are there because you arbitrarily chose 30%, and now it's a huge chunk of money, and you don't want to give it up. That's all it is. There is no actual rational justification to what Apple's doing. Mm-hmm. And then you compare it to Microsoft's, and you're like, wow, this is quite egalitarian here. What's going on? Are they trying to make money?
Lessons learned the hard way.
It's great. The differences are insane.
And this may be a crazy thought, but I feel like if Brad Smith wasn't there and headlining this, and somebody new was there, they may not have the institutional remembrance of how
That's right. Yeah,
terrible
that's
this
that's actually a really good point. Yeah, that's right. He is one of the
Brad
few
Smith
people
went
left.
through it. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
He went
I
through
knew
it
that-
because Bill Newcomb left, right? Like, I think that's
Yeah.
how long
Yeah.
ago it was.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's funny. I saw that he was in Washington, D.C. yesterday, and Frank Shaw was, and Jenny Leigh Fluffy was also, because they were doing some kind of testimony about the disability, like something to do with disability. And I was like, they're there for another reason. They're not just there for that. There's another reason that Brad Smith and Frank are in Washington. And then this comes out, and I'm like,
by the
maybe
way,
this is why.
there is a bill before Congress right now to basically break up these App Store monopolies, right?
Right.
I mean,
So
this is
probably
Microsoft.
related, right?
Of course, this is Microsoft saying, look, this is how you do an App Store, you know, without running afoul of antitrust regulators.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to make less money, Apple. Sorry. You already make more money than every company on earth. If your App Store revenues drop by 50%, guess what? You would still be the biggest company
make the
in the
most
world.
money.
You'd still be the biggest company in the world.
Yeah.
Period.
True.
Yeah. Well, and it gets harder and harder as other companies say, oh, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. You don't have to do that to be a successful company. That gets harder and harder for Apple.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm a 10-year-old, but is there a person you just mentioned named Jenny Leigh Fluffy?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I almost spit up my milk.
Well, no, she's French, so you're pronouncing it wrong.
Oh, Le Fluffy. Okay.
No, Jenny Leigh. I'm sorry. I'm saying it wrong. Jenny Leigh Fleury, not Fluffy. Sorry. My bad. Flurrie. She's Microsoft's Chief Accessibility Officer.
Oh, I know her. Yes, of course.
Yeah, you know her.
No, I actually know her. She's great. I'm sorry.
You? Oh, nice.
Did
Nice.
she marry
Yeah.
a guy named Mr. Fluffy?
No, I screwed that up. Flurry. Not
woman.
Fluffy. Sorry, Jenny.
Okay, I'm 10. I'm sorry. It's embarrassing.
You are
I have
10.
the mind of a 10-year-old. I'm sorry.
It's like a woman in a James Bond movie or something.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It does. It does.
You know, bad enough she was named Jenny Leigh, then she has to marry a guy named Fluffy, right? I mean, come on.
Sorry,
Oh,
I'm very
Fleury.
embarrassed. I'm sorry, everyone.
Jenny Leigh Fleury.
Fleury.
Oui.
Yes, that sounds way better when you
Much
say it that way.
better. Oh. We're going to take a little break, then we're going to get the back of the book. Have you seen House of Gucci yet? Speaking of bad accents.
House of Flurry.
It's hysterical. It's Lady Gaga, Jeremy Irons. But the best one is Jared Leto in a fat suit doing the most Mario accent I've ever heard. He talks like this the whole time.
It's just sued by their family, aren't they?
Are they being sued?
Yeah, I think they're not happy.
I think so. Yeah, I think
The
they're
happy
not
ain't
happy
the
about
family
it.
ain't happy. That Mel, yeah. Yeah, they shouldn't be because it's not a flattering portrait. It's pretty. It's but the accents, my God. And then I just read Lady Gaga, who was snubbed for an Oscar, stayed in character for the 8 months she was making the movie. She would talk to everybody like this, even her mom. She said, "Hey,
What is she,
mom."
Madonna?
Yeah, she said the crazy. She said, "I don't want to be Lady Gaga no more." It's the funniest thing.
Oh, boy.
All right. Yeah, you're right. Knox Harrington has nailed it. He says, my problem with the House of Gucci was it was both too silly and not silly enough. It should have lent into the insanity.
Yes.
I agree. They tried to be serious and silly. Just be
It's
silly.
like that. There's a Netflix series like the woman who saw the murder of
The girl with
Street,
the woman with the girl.
So same thing. It's like it's sometimes it's hilarious and sommes you're like, wait, is this serious?
Yeah, I started watching it hoping it would be a parody
Yeah,
of the girl in the train.
It's still worth seeing regardless. But yeah.
Oh, I love her.
Murder in the Building, same thing. You guys seen
It's
that?
silly.
I like
They
that one.
leaned
That one-
into the
I like that
silly
one.
on that one. Steve Martin.
I like
and
that one a
Martin
lot.
Short.
I thought that was really
No,
good.
I wanted it to be. I
Even-
wanted it to be
even
more of a
sillier?
detective. No, less silly.
Less silly.
More detective. More detective.
Oh, so watch this Netflix thing because actually, like figuring out who did it is actually fun. It's a neat, it's a neat show. It's short too.
Hey, this is a new part of the back of the book.
Movie reviews.
Movie reviews,
Show
yeah.
reviews.
The new Siskel and Ebert, Thurrott and Foley.
We could pair beers with our recommendations.
Speaking of beer,
That's right.
time for the back of the book. Let's kick things off with I think this is a tip of the week from Paul Thurrott. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Sir? Am I correct?
Just this it's kind of a general tip, which is you should enable two-step authentication, two-step verification, whatever they're calling it, multi-factor authentication for every single one of your online accounts, obviously, right? But Google started auto-enrolling people in what they call two-step verification for Gmail, Google accounts. And apparently over time, they're going to auto-enroll everyone who doesn't manually enroll. And that's smart because what they found is that there was a 50% drop in account compromises just by enabling this one feature, which is, kind of what you're looking for. So that's a Google thing. I'm sure Microsoft has similar data, but wherever you can do this, do this. And there's just a little bit of data to kind of back that up. So sorry, I have a tip I'm going to say for next week, but I have a tip that is actually kind of funny because it makes me look stupid. But anyway, in the meantime, I have two app picks this week. One is that Google released Flutter 2.1, which is a developer toolkit for creating cross-platform apps. It started out as something for Android and iOS, but they're adding support for desktop platforms and the web now. And version 2.1 adds support for creating Windows apps, which is kind of awesome. This is a really sophisticated environment. If people will often ask me, like, I want to write a Windows app, like, what's the best way to do it? And unfortunately, here in 2022, the answer is like, well, you really shouldn't write a Windows app. That's the best answer. Write a cross-platform app. And you could do that with a web framework of some kind, create a PWA perhaps. Or you could use something like Flutter or literally Flutter. Microsoft has something coming down the pike called .NET MAUI, which is basically the next version of Xamarin. And it's not exactly what Flutter is because it doesn't support the web natively. MAUI will support Windows, Mac, Android, and iOS. But Flutter today supports Android, iOS, and Windows and stable, but web, Linux, et cetera, are all coming as well. It's a pretty sophisticated environment. It's something to look into. I recommend it.
Yeah, I like Flutter a lot, actually.
Yeah,
Flutter and
I do
Dart.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's good stuff.
How does it look in Windows cross-platform? Does it look native?
Yeah, so it can. One of the tricks with the cross-platform stuff, dating all the way back to Java, is that oftentimes what you see is some kind of a weird overlay or something that maybe has pseudo-native controls or whatever. So there's a lot of native control stuff. Microsoft has actually made contributions to this. One of the things they contributed were their Fluent. Is it Fluent or Fluid? I guess Fluent, the fonts from the Fluent design system are now part of Flutter, or can be added to a Flutter project natively. So
it can
yeah,
look pretty native. And
Yeah,
the
it
widgets and all that, they look like real Windows buttons and stuff, because that's always the issue.
Yeah, they can. They absolutely can. Yep.
I like
some
Flutter
people
a lot.
I do
really.
too. Yeah. I'm going to look at this again. I'm doing like a monthly programming project. Speaking of which, when I was away, I put the first of my 4 .NET Pad projects up on GitHub, and I actually have people like forking it and making contributions and stuff. And that's kind of an interesting little world to be a part of. But at some point this month, February, it's February. So February, I'm going to wrap that up. I'm going to document the stuff that people have done on the outside, make a few changes of my own. I'm going to kind of wrap that one up. But Flutter is definitely one I'm going to be looking at in the near future. I don't remember when this came up, but I know this came up. I tweeted about this some weeks ago. But among my many Windows frustrations are you have a bunch of images on your desktop, or maybe they're in a folder. And you double click on one, and by default, it loads up an application called Windows Photos. Sometimes Windows Photos has navigation controls. So you can hit the right arrow key or whatever and go look at every single picture in the folder. But a lot of times, and this is getting to be more and more of a problem, there are no navigation controls. So you open an image and you want to go see the next one and you can't. And if it's lately, I've been looking at all these images of screenshots from like Longhorn and everything. It's like a folder with 178 files. I can't open these things one at a time. I need to, scroll through them. And people have come up with like, if you leave it sitting there, the navigation controls will eventually work. That hasn't actually worked for me or whatever. Blah. So anyway, eventually I said, screw this. I need a third-party tool for this. I need something that just works. There are probably many, many choices. This one isn't particularly pretty, but it does the job. It's free. It's called, I don't know how you pronounce it, Irfan View.
Yeah,
If you're a
Irfan
Windows
View.
user.
His guy's name is Irfan. Or Irfan.
Irfan, okay.
Yeah.
Irfan View. Yeah. So, you can configure it however you want. But one of the things it does right out of the box, exactly what I just described. You have a folder full of files. You open one, right arrow key, next. It's exactly what you want. So I'm done. I'm done screwing around with Windows Photos. I wish stuff worked, but this is a lot like the Windows Mail app in Windows 10 and now 11, where I tried and I tried and I tried. I'm like, you know what? This doesn't work. Why am I doing this to myself? So there are free alternatives out there. This is one. This is the one I'm using. I like it. But
Nice.
yeah.
Good. And now, Mary Jo Foley. And you have a enterprise pick of the week.
I do.
Yes.
Windows 365 is getting one of the most requested user features. Maybe the most requested feature. I'm not sure if it's the most or one of the most. That feature is Azure Active Directory join support. So Azure AD join support, it's definitely a feature business users have been asking about because it lets them bring cloud PCs through Windows 65 to users without having to have Azure as part of the equation. They can actually use and create Azure AD joined cloud PCs on their network by using on-premises network connections. They can provide cloud PCs for people who are cloud-only users in an organization. And for people who care about Windows Hello for Business, you can use this feature to sign into your cloud PC because you're using Azure AD. Microsoft talked about all of this at Ignite in the fall. I didn't realize at the time, but that was only in private preview. So as of today, this is all in public preview for anyone who's a Windows 365 customer. So this is a very big deal as far as advancing the whole cloud PC idea and practice for business users and everybody else. So yay, they did it. They said they would, and they did.
Nice. Yay. They said they
Yay.
do it. They did it. And yay.
Hooray.
Hoorah.
Hoo-ha, not hoo-ha, hoorah.
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 And now, codename pick of the week.
So 2 code names, both from Business Insider, related to the HoloLens story. 2 things we got to keep our ears to the ground for. The supposedly canceled HoloLens 3 was codenamed Calypso, they say. And the new mystery device that Microsoft's building with Samsung for mixed reality, extended reality, is codenamed Bondi after Bondi Beach in Australia. So if you hear those code names, it's about HoloLens.
Nice.
Yep.
Bondi.
It's Bondi, right?
I think it's Bondi.
I always call it Bondi. It's
yeah,
Bondi,
there was
right?
the only
Yeah.
reason I know is because, of course, Bondi was the name of the Apple color for the first iMac. And I think we said Bondi.
Oh, was it really?
Bondi Blue.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Yeah, this is named after the beach.
Yeah, that's as was Bondi Blue, because that's
Okay.
apparently how the color of the beach.
Got it.
And now,
Is this like a Leonardo DiCaprio movie?
It kind of is. Yeah.
The Island or something? What the heck was it? The
let
Beach.
us do some beer.
Let us do a very weird beer pick of the
This
week.
is the funniest beer name you've had
I
in a long
love
time,
it.
by the way.
This beer, this is the real name. Western Maryland Vacation Packages is the name of the beer. That already tells you it's going to be weird, right?
What the hell? Yes.
Okay. So it's called that because one of the brewers that made this, Cushwa Brewing, which is an excellent brewery, they're in Williamsport, Maryland, which I'm assuming must be in Western Maryland. They brewed this beer in conjunction with Heist, which is a brewery in Charlotte. Here's the description of the beer. This is a fruited sour, which is a very popular style. It features heavy amounts of mango, delicious sweet coconut, and all the bread pudding we could pack
Oh,
into
that's
it.
disgusting. What?
I know.
You don't want. I don't want bread pudding in my beer.
I saw this and I'm like, I have to try it now because I love bread pudding and I'm so intrigued by this.
I do
beer.
too, but I don't love it in my beer.
Yeah.
It's not. It's
So
just the flavor of bread pudding, obviously.
No, they brewed it with bread pudding in the beer.
Like on the bottom of the barrel, they stuck some bread pudding.
They threw this is a thing that a lot of people do with stouts. They throw crazy ingredients in like graham crackers and M&Ms and marshmallows and they put
Does it
stuff in just to
taste
see
like
what happens.
bread pudding?
So that's what I wanted. I wanted it to taste like bread pudding, but
Yeah.
it didn't. It
No.
tasted like coconut mango smoothie. That's
because
what it tasted
coconuts
like.
and mangoes overpower
They did.
the bread pudding.
They did. I wanted it to pour out of the can like a thick bread pudding. That's what I
Oh,
wanted.
wow.
It did not. It just poured out as a little thick neon orange beer. And it tasted good, but all it tasted like was a fruit smoothie. It didn't taste
Did
like
it come
beer.
out like bread in a can, like it kind of slopped out of there, or did
That's
it?
what I wanted. I wanted that. I don't know why, but I did. And it didn't come out like that. So I felt a little let down. And it was very delicious.
Here's
it
the
was
review that I like the best from Kenny L on Untapped. He says, not a beer, but
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah. My review was similar on Untapped. Mine was like, it was a delicious fruit smoothie, but not really a beer.
Not a beer.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
yeah.
honestly, the name is good because you really wouldn't expect a beer to be called Western Maryland Vacation
That's
Packages.
true. That's true. And to be good, right?
Right.
Yeah. So they said the reason they called it that was they went down to Charlotte, the Cushwa Brewers,
Yeah.
and they said, we told them we had to come up with the perfect getaway. They took us up on the offer and came up on one of the most slept on destinations for travel, Western Maryland.
Not Eastern Maryland where there would be an
No.
ocean.
Yes.
Inland.
Yeah. So it's a lot of good jokes going on. And once I saw bread pudding, though, I was all in and I bought a can and brought it home and I was
Well,
disappointed.
the Potomac is on the west. side, right?
So is it bordered by the Atlantic Ocean on the east and
Yeah,
the
and
Potomac
then
on the
the
west?
Chesapeake Bay comes right up the middle of it.
Oh, does it? Oh, so maybe the west would be on Chesapeake Bay. Okay.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been drinking a lot of unusual beers lately just because even a woman who loves IPAs cannot live by IPAs alone.
Oh,
and has
no.
to try new things.
But really, we don't need an orange mango smoothie for beer.
The other one I was going to think of, maybe I'll save that for another week. That was also weird and terrible.
Is there like a fruitcake beer that has little built-in hardened fruits?
Yeah. Anyway,
Gummy
Western
fruits.
Maryland vacation packages.
Is there banana bread beer? Because I would drink that.
Yes, there is. There
course
is.
there
There's a
is.
very famous one from England who, if we have some British people on, they're going to know this beer. It's a banana bread beer. It's pretty good. Tastes like banana bread.
See, I could take that. That's
Yeah.
almost bread pudding.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I love bread pudding. I love it.
It's not a liquid and it's not a solid. It's more of a magma kind of a thing.
It kind of is. It kind of is.
Like,
Yeah.
what do we call
silly
that? Like
putty.
a,
It's it's an
like
elastic.
a semi-solid
Yeah.
or something.
No.
Yeah.
Elastic
Leo,
substance.
you got to find Wells banana bread beer from
Wells
UK.
banana bread beer. That sounds
Yep,
good.
I've had it. It's very nice.
I'll take
it's very
it.
Nice.
I'll take two.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah, guys, somebody has to take one for the team on beers, and I'm here for you.
you
Just
do
so
it.
you know.
You do it every week. She
I
drinks
do.
something else god awful and saves us from it. Okay. Thank you, Mary Jo Foley. You are a champion. You know, you're a hero, a frontline worker.
am.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. You're one of the heroes.
Right. I think Microsoft has a software package for you, frontline worker.
They do.
Frontline beer worker.
Frontline beer worker. I might get you a hat that says that. That would be good. A little baseball cap. Mary Jo Foley is at allaboutmicrosoft.com. That's a ZDNet blog. Who owns you now? Is it still Red Ventures or have
Red
you?
Ventures.
Okay, just
Still
checking.
Red Ventures. Yep.
Just checking. Well, you know, they spun off
Tech Republic.
Tech Republic,
Yep.
so that was like they were there for a cup of coffee and gone.
Pretty much. Yep.
Yeah, it's wild. And now,
Yep.
you know, we had Dan Patterson on Sunday on Twitter from CBS.
Yep.
And now, you know, they're for sale. So it's just what a crazy, wacky media landscape we live in.
It's always
You know what?
kind of been
NVIDIA
like that,
might
though,
buy
right?
us. Who knows?
NVIDIA
might buy us.
NVIDIA should
Think
buy
of
the
some cash.
podcast. We could
Exactly.
we could help them somehow. I don't know. I'll do something. Some beer. Eaglebrewery.co.uk. Banana.
No, I'm looking for the Wells. The Wells one is
Okay.
the
So apparently there's
really
more than
famous
one.
There's more than one. Yep.
It's just like a Hefeweizen that went bad. It's got little chunky things floating in it now.
No, it really tastes like banana bread. It does.
Is there a beer for Lisa that tastes like Smarties?
I bet there is.
I'm sure there is. There's candy
Yeah,
beers.
there's lots of beers that taste like
there's a
sour
wine
fruit.
slushy with her name on it.
Yeah.
We want to try it. Once the weather turns, we're going to try your famous rosé slushy, Paul. Maybe we could do that on the cruise. We could talk them to
there you go.
one of the slushy bars into a rosé.
This will be like a 101 level alcohol class.
Oh man. Oh man. We're gonna have so much fun with the peanut butter and the
She does make a mean peanut butter cup cocktail now, and also a peanut butter and jelly.
Sounds so good.
Oh man.
Paul Thurrott. Yeah, I guess there's still room on the cruise. I don't know. The cruise is still on because guess what? The pandemic's over. Congratulations.
I know we won. We
won. We won. Humans won. COVID nothing. Well, not exactly nothing, but
Not
it
exactly
was kind of an
nothing.
overtime thing. But it's a thriller.
It was close.
Still.
It was a thriller. Won by a field goal. But we're going in July to Alaska. It's going to be a lot of fun. Paul and his wife Stephanie are going.
Yep.
My lovely better half Lisa is going. She can explain how Twit works because
You should just go without us.
I'll go to that one.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. And then Paul Campbell.
Richard Campbell.
Richard, one of the Campbells. One of the famous
Richard and
Campbells.
Raphael are both coming. Yeah.
Raphael's coming. So it's gonna honestly, it's gonna be a Windows cruise, really. And I'm just gonna sit there going, I'll install Linux for anybody who wants.
Windows everywhere is the theme, Leo. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll be in the lifeboat floating alongside.
Manjaro,
And the lifeboat will be named Defender.
Defender.
Nice.
A lifeboat named Defender.
Oh, that's good. I like it. I was going to name this a whale with an extra arm, but now
No, a leg.
leg.
It's a leg.
Paul Thurrott's at Thurrott.com, Thurr. You could tell I'm happy to be back. I missed you guys. Thurrott. He's also has got his field guide to Windows 10 at leanpub.com. And keep your eye peeled for the field guide to Windows 11 for those of you living on the danger zone. He's working on that one too.
Yep.
And of course, we get together and do Windows Weekly every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1900 UTC. If you'd like to join us, all you have to do is go to live.twit.tv to watch the live stream, and you can chat with us at irc.twit.tv. If you're a member of Club Twit, there's also a Discord. Lots of fun in the Discord. In fact, we've just added a new benefit to Club Twit Discord members, Club Twit members, access to I should have thought of this before, our Twit Minecraft server. We have a Minecraft server designed back in the day by OMG Chad and his group. It's a beautiful, it's got the Twit Studios, It's got everything in it. And access is available to you as a Club Twit member as well. So, man, the benefits keep stacking up. $7 a month. What do you get? You get ad-free versions of all the shows. You get the Discord and all its benefits, including the Untitled Linux Show, Stacy's Book Club. We've got a This Week in Space now with Tarek Malik and Rod Pyle. Friday, I'm interviewing Mike Elgin and Amira about their gastronomad adventures. It's all sorts of stuff. Also, there's the Twit Plus feed with unique stuff that doesn't show up on the regular podcasts. So that's pretty good for $7 a month. I think we've made it a nice package. Everything but a Galaxy S22 Ultra. Everything but. Twit.tv/clubtwit if you want to know more. Of course, we still offer free versions of every show we do after the fact at our website, twit.tv. In the case of this show, it's twit.tv/WW. There's a YouTube channel for every show, including Windows Weekly. And you can subscribe in your favorite podcast player at absolutely no cost to you. But I do, if you want, I can ask a little favor. do us a solid and give us a 5-star review. Let the world know about the best Windows podcast in the world, Windows Weekly. I will be back here next Wednesday. I hope you will too. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly.
Don't miss All About Android every week. We talk about the latest news, hardware, apps, and now all the developer-y goodness happening in the Android ecosystem. I'm Jason Howell, also joined by Ron Richards, Florence Ion, and our newest co-host on the panel, Wen Tu Dao, who brings her developer chops. Really great stuff. We also invite people from all over the Android ecosystem to talk about this mobile platform we love so much. Join us every Tuesday, All About Android on twit.tv.